Relax, I didn't even think we'd make it this long. You're just a phase, she said at our anniversary dinner, so I paid the bill and left. Now she's texting me every day, begging for a second chance. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. I've always been the dependable one. The guy people count on to show up, to do the work, to keep my word. It's not glamorous, and I've never pretended to be the most exciting man in the room, but I thought that was exactly what made me a good partner. When I started dating Melissa 3 years ago, I believe she saw that too. She used to say things like, "I've never felt this secure before," or "You're the only one I can really trust." I liked hearing it, because I wasn't rich, I wasn't flashy, but I worked hard and I always tried to make her feel cared for. When her car broke down during her last semester of college, I used my savings to help her fix it. When she failed a class and thought she'd have to delay graduation, I stayed up with her until 3 in the morning quizzing her with flashcards. When she couldn't make rent for a couple of months, I covered it without making her feel bad. That's who I was in the relationship, the safety net, the steady hand. But lately, things had changed. Over the past 6 months, Melissa had developed this restless energy. It started small. She'd make comments about how her friends' boyfriends surprised them with trips, or how some of them just had that spark. At first, I brushed it off as normal comparison. It's hard not to stack your life up against your friends when they're posting every perfect date on social media. Then the remarks turned sharper. When I suggested a movie night, she'd roll her eyes and say, "We always do the same thing." When I cooked dinner, she'd comment, "It's nice, just not very exciting." Once, when I mentioned wanting to save up for a house, she laughed and said, "God, you sound like a 40-year-old suburban dad already." It stung. I didn't fight back, though. I told myself she was just stressed with work, maybe overwhelmed by how serious things were getting. I believe people had phases, and you didn't just throw away 3 years because someone was a little moody. So when our anniversary was coming up, I wanted to do something thoughtful. Something to remind her that I cared and that our relationship was worth celebrating. I booked a reservation at a nice restaurant downtown, not the fanciest in the city, but nicer than our usual places. I even ironed my shirt and bought a bottle of her favorite wine to leave at her apartment for when we got back. The night of the dinner, I showed up at her door with flowers. She opened it dressed well enough, but her face didn't light up. "Roses?" she asked flatly. "Yeah," I said, smiling anyway. "Happy anniversary." She took them, mumbled thanks, and set them on the counter without much of a glance. On the drive over, she spent most of the time scrolling her phone, laughing at something her friend had posted. I tried to start a conversation about work, but she answered in one-word replies. I told myself she'd warm up once we got to the restaurant. The hostess led us to a small table by the window, candles flickering between us. It should have felt romantic, but Melissa sighed like she was bored already. "This place is fine," she said, looking around. I forced a smile. "I thought you'd like it. It's got great reviews." "Sure," she muttered, reaching for the menu. I didn't know it then, but what she was about to say over that meal would stick with me forever, burned into my memory like a scar. The server came over, cheerful and polite, and took our drink orders. Melissa asked for a cocktail she'd seen trending on TikTok. I just asked for water. When the server walked away, I leaned forward, trying to break through her distracted expression. "So 3 years, huh? Hard to believe it's been that long already." Melissa barely looked up from her phone. "Yeah, time flies." I chuckled lightly. "Remember our first date? That little diner with the sticky booths?" She smirked. "Honestly, I only went because my roommate canceled on me. I didn't think you'd actually turn into a long-term thing. It was meant as a joke, I hoped, but it landed like a stone in my stomach." I forced another smile and looked down at my menu. When our drinks came, I raised my glass. "To 3 years together." Melissa clinked hers lazily against mine and took a sip. She barely met my eyes. I tried again. "So, where do you see us in another 3 years?" That was the wrong question. She let out a sharp laugh, one that carried to the nearby tables. A couple at the next booth turned their heads. "Oh my God," she said, shaking her head. "Relax. I didn't even think we'd make it this long. You're just a phase. I mean, come on. Did you really think I was going to marry you?" The words echoed in my head like a gunshot. For a second, I thought I'd misheard her. "What?" I asked quietly. Melissa set down her glass and leaned back, her voice dripping with condescension. Don't look so shocked. You're sweet, but you're not it. You're safe, reliable, predictable. That's great for a while, but it's not forever. You're just a stepping stone until I figure out what I really want. I felt my face heat, aware of the silence around us. The couple who had turned their heads earlier weren't even pretending not to listen now. I swallowed hard. You're saying this tonight? Better now than later, she said, with a shrug. I mean, it's not like you thought we were some epic love story, right? You've got to know this is temporary. The server returned with our appetizers, blissfully unaware of the tension. He set the plates down, smiled, and left. Melissa speared a bite of food and popped it into her mouth like nothing had happened. This isn't bad, she said casually. I stared at her, trying to process the fact that the woman I'd spent 3 years of my life with had just reduced me to a placeholder. On our anniversary, in public. I wanted to argue. I wanted to demand how she could say that after everything I'd done for her. I wanted to remind her of the nights I stayed up quizzing her, the money I'd spent helping her out of trouble, the loyalty I'd given without question. But instead, I sat back, breathed slowly, and said nothing. The rest of the meal passed in silence on my end, punctuated by her occasional remarks about the food or some story from her friend group. To anyone watching, it probably looked like I'd gone numb, and in a way, I had. When the check came, I didn't hesitate. I slipped my card into the folder, paid, and thanked the server politely. Melissa didn't even glance at the bill. Outside, the cool night air hit me, but it didn't bring relief. I drove her home in silence. She scrolled on her phone again, humming under her breath like she hadn't just gutted me. When we pulled up to her place, she finally looked at me. You're awfully quiet, she said. I gripped the steering wheel. Yeah. She rolled her eyes. Don't be dramatic. I was just being honest. I didn't respond. I just waited until she got out, then drove away. My hands were shaking on the wheel, but my face was calm. That calm, I realized, was the only thing I had left. I didn't sleep much that night. Her words replayed in my head over and over. You're just a stepping stone. A phase. Did you really think I was going to marry you? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her smirk, her casual cruelty. The next morning, I made a decision. I wasn't going to let her twist this into some vague misunderstanding or another one of her half-baked jokes. I needed clarity, and I needed it face to face. So I drove to her apartment. Melissa opened the door in sweatpants, coffee mug in hand, scrolling her phone as usual. Wow, you're up early, she said, stepping aside to let me in. I figured you'd still be sulking. I'm not sulking, I said flatly. She shrugged and flopped onto the couch. Okay, Broody. What's up? I sat down across from her. Last night. What you said. I need you to be completely honest with me. Do you actually see this relationship going anywhere? She took a sip of coffee and smirked. You're really hung up on that, huh? Melissa, just answer. Her tone turned airy, almost rehearsed. Look, you're nice. You've been good to me. But you're not exactly thrilling. You don't push me. You don't challenge me. It's like, being with you is easy. Too easy. And honestly, I think I need someone who excites me more. I clench my jaw. Excitement fades. Stability lasts. You don't think that matters? Not to me, she said bluntly. I'm 24, not 40. I don't want to settle down with the safe option. I want passion, adventure, fun. I leaned forward. So what was I then? A placeholder until you find someone who checks your boxes. She laughed. Exactly. Finally, you get it. Something inside me snapped at the casual way she said it, like my 3 years of effort, love, and loyalty were nothing more than background noise in her life. I stared at her for a long moment. Do you even realize how cruel that sounds? Melissa rolled her eyes. Oh, don't make it a big moral thing. It's just reality. You're a good guy, but good guys finish last. You should know that. Good guys finish last, I repeated slowly. So what? You wanted me to bankroll your life, keep you comfortable, while you held out for someone more exciting? She didn't even flinch. Pretty much. I sat back, stunned. She was actually saying it outright. You know what the worst part is? I said quietly. I believed in us. I thought this was going somewhere. I thought we had something worth building. Melissa tilted her head like I was a child who didn't understand the rules of the game. That's your mistake, not mine. I never promised you forever. No, I said. But you let me think it. For the first time, She looked slightly uncomfortable, but she masked it quickly with a smirk. Don't be bitter. I mean, you'll find someone who loves how safe you are. Probably a nice teacher or nurse or whatever. That's your lane. Not me. I stood up. You're right. She raised an eyebrow. I am. Yeah. You're not my forever. You're not even my right now anymore. Her smirk faltered. What do you mean? I mean we're done. I'm not going to sit around being your backup plan until someone better comes along. She set her coffee down a little too hard. Oh, come on. Don't be dramatic. I was just being real with you. No, you were being selfish. And I was stupid enough to put up with it. Not anymore. Her tone shifted, sharper now. So you're just going to throw away 3 years? Over one conversation. I met her eyes, calm and steady. No, Melissa. You threw it away. I'm just finally accepting it. She opened her mouth like she had more to say, but I didn't give her the chance. I walked out. For the first time in 3 years, I felt lighter. The first day after I left Melissa's apartment, I half expected a flood of texts. Instead, I got one. Melissa, LOL, so you're really doing this? Over me being honest? Wild. Your loss. I didn't reply. The next morning, another one popped up. Melissa, hey, just so you know, I'm totally fine. I've already got plans tonight with some friends. Don't stress about me winking-faced. Fake confidence. Classic. She wanted me to believe she was moving on effortlessly, that I was the clingy one for taking her at her word. I muted her number and tried to focus on work, but she didn't let up. A few days later, Melissa. So, funny story. Remember that guy I mentioned once, Jason? We've been hanging out. He actually gets me. He's not afraid of life like you. That one stung, but I let it sit there unread. I knew what she was doing, dangling the idea of a replacement, trying to provoke jealousy. When I didn't bite, the tone shifted again. Melissa, can we talk? Seriously, I think I came off harsher than I meant. I didn't mean to make it sound like you were nothing. You know I care about you. Still, I stayed silent. 2 days later, I came home to find a handwritten note slipped under my door. I miss you. I miss us. Don't let one stupid fight ruin everything. You're the only guy who ever really treated me right. Please call me. I sat there staring at it, and for a split second, I almost felt bad. Almost. But then I remembered her voice in that kitchen, laughing while she told me I was just a stepping stone. The mask was cracking now. That night, I got a barrage of messages. Melissa, why are you ignoring me? Melissa, after everything I did for you, you can't even talk to me. Melissa, wow. You're pathetic. I should have expected this from someone who can't handle a real woman. It was like watching her cycle through every stage of desperation in real time. Smug, needy, pleading, angry. I stayed silent. The final straw came a week later when she showed up outside my work. I was walking out to my car when I heard her voice. Ethan. I turned. She was standing there in sunglasses, arms crossed like she was starring in her own soap opera. We need to talk, she said. No, we don't. She stepped closer. So that's it. 3 years, and you're just done. Melissa, I said calmly. You were done long before I walked out. Her jaw clenched. I didn't mean it the way it came out, okay? You're twisting my words. You know I love you. I shook my head. No, you loved having me around. There's a difference. She frowned, her voice sharpening. You think you're too good for me now? You'll come crawling back. Guys like you always do. I unlocked my car and got in. Goodbye, Melissa. I drove away, watching her shrink in the rearview mirror, her face twisted in a mix of anger and disbelief. That was the moment I realized she wasn't in control anymore. Silence followed after that parking lot scene. For the first time in weeks, my phone was blissfully still. But Melissa couldn't stay quiet forever. 2 weeks later, mutual friends started dropping hints. My buddy Lucas casually mentioned over beers, "Hey, did you hear Melissa's thing with Jason already blew up?" I kept my face neutral. Oh, yeah, apparently he's seeing like 3 other girls at the same time. She caught him messaging one of them while they were out together. Total meltdown. I nodded, sipping my drink. Not my problem. Lucas grinned. Damn, you're ice cold. Maybe. But I wasn't about to give her the satisfaction of knowing I cared. After that, the cracks spread quickly. I heard from another friend that Melissa had been venting online, posting cryptic quotes about betrayal and fake men. A week later, she showed up at a mutual friend's party alone, trying way too hard to look carefree. People noticed. People talked. Her image, carefree, in control, untouchable, was unraveling. And right on cue, the messages started again. Melissa, I made a mistake. You're the only one who ever truly cared about me. Melissa, Jason was trash compared to you. He never treated me like you did. Melissa, can we please talk? Just dinner, no pressure. I just want to see you. I didn't respond. A few days later, another note appeared under my door. This one wasn't confident or polished. It was messy, written in rushed handwriting. I don't know what I was thinking. You're the only real man I've ever been with. Everyone else just uses me. Please don't shut me out. I'll do better. I'll be better. I tossed it in the trash without a second thought. But Melissa wasn't done. The following weekend, she ambushed me again, this time outside a cafe where she knew I grabbed coffee every Saturday morning. She looked thinner, worn out, eyes a little too red like she hadn't been sleeping. Ethan, she said, stepping into my path. Please, just listen to me. I sighed. Melissa, no, let me say this. Her voice cracked slightly. I know I messed up. I know I said things I shouldn't have. I was stupid, okay? I thought I wanted excitement, but all I got was chaos. I thought I was trading up, but I traded down. You were the best thing I ever had, and I threw it away. I stood there quiet. She grabbed my wrist, desperate now. Just give me another chance. Please. I'll prove it to you. We can start over. Her eyes were wet, and for the first time, there wasn't even a hint of that smug smile. Just desperation. And in that moment, I felt it, clarity. I didn't hate her. I didn't even feel angry anymore. I just didn't care. I gently pulled my wrist free. Melissa, this isn't my burden anymore. Her face fell, but I walked past her into the cafe. That was the last time I saw her up close. A month passed without a word from Melissa. I thought maybe she'd finally accepted it. Then came Sam's birthday party. Sam was one of those everybody shows up kind of friends, so I knew Melissa might be there. I debated skipping, but ultimately, I wanted to prove, to myself more than anyone, that I could walk into a room with her and not flinch. When I arrived, people greeted me warmly. I'd been keeping my distance socially since the breakup, but now I felt lighter, more present. And apparently, people noticed. About an hour in, I saw her. Melissa was in the corner nursing a drink, trying to act casual, but her smile never quite reached her eyes. She looked drained, smaller somehow. The queen bee had lost her sting. She spotted me and froze. Then, as if rehearsed, she straightened her shoulders and walked over. Ethan, she said, voice soft, almost rehearsed. Can we talk? I kept my tone polite, detached. What is there to talk about? Her eyes darted around. She didn't want an audience. Not here. Just step outside with me for a minute. I shook my head. If you've got something to say, say it. Her mask cracked, just a little. Okay, fine. She took a breath. I was wrong. About everything. About you. About us. I thought I wanted someone exciting, someone different. But all I got was guys who didn't care, who treated me like trash. You were the only one who ever showed up for me. You're the one who actually mattered. The words hung in the air. A few people nearby pretended not to listen, but I could feel the attention. Melissa's eyes glistened. Please. I just want another chance. We can start fresh. I swear I won't take you for granted this time. I studied her for a moment. Not with anger, not with longing, just clarity. No, Melissa, I said evenly. Her face tightened. Why not? After everything we had. Because what we had died the moment you told me I was just a phase. A stepping stone, remember? Her lips parted like she might deny it, but she knew I was right. I continued, calm and steady. I gave you everything I had. Time, loyalty, love. And you laughed in my face for it. You wanted excitement, adventure, chaos? You found it. But that's not my world. Not anymore. Tears welled in her eyes. So that's it. You're just done. I gave a small, polite smile. I've been done. I just didn't realize how much until now. For the final time, I turned away. The conversation was over. I spent the rest of the night laughing with friends, actually enjoying myself. Melissa lingered on the edge of the crowd, but nobody rushed to her side anymore. She wasn't the center of attention. She was just there, background noise. And for the first time since that disastrous anniversary, I felt free. Melissa wasn't my burden anymore. She wasn't even my memory. She was just someone I used to know. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.